Hello and welcome to Mattwo's Random Reviews, where dead horses that are memes or references get beaten to a pulp, then beaten with a whisk and beaten some more. Do you mind not doing the horse metaphors that involve beating horses to a pulp? Anyway, the subject of this review is something that's been a long time coming. It is no secret that I am, in fact, a brony. And without the show, us race wings wouldn't exist. Now let's get right into it. You all know the story. Generation 3 was horrible. Lauren Faust, who was brought on to make a new generation My Little Pony cartoons, she wanted to use Generation 1 characters. Hasbro lost the rights to them or something. Two of them. She was forced to rework Generation 3 characters into Generation 4 characters, and the rest is more or less history by now. To summarize, the basis of the show up until Season 3 is as follows. Studious unicorn Twilight Sparkle discovers that there is an impending threat that could cause trouble for the enchanted land of Equestria. Her mentor figure, ruler of Equestria, Unicorn Princess Celestia, tells her to instead focus on traveling to from her home castle town of Canterlot to rule Ponyville, to oversee preparations for a summer solstice celebration, because Celestia is the rough equivalent of a sun god, which makes her raising the sun on the summer solstice a huge deal, and also tells Twilight to make some friends. Twilight does as her mentor instructs and meets 5 ponies who are tasked with specific roles in the festivities, completely oblivious to the fact that this is actually a Batman gambit. She eventually befriends 5 other ponies who ultimately help her unleash the power of the elements of harmony and defeat Nightmare Moon, and decides to stay in Ponyville and learn about friendship and hijinks ensue. Now let's get into the meat of things, but first, the intro.
Could be My Little Pony, until you all shared its magic with me.
The show begins with an animated storybook telling the story of 2 eloquent sisters who ruled together. One raised the sun at dawn and ruled over the day, and the other raised the moon at dusk and ruled over the night. But the one that ruled over the night felt scorned because no one ever appreciated the night and became the evil Nightmare Moon. So her sister used these powerful gemstones known as the elements of harmony to banish her to the moon. A purple unicorn is revealed to be reading the book. This is Twilight Sparkle. After the intro, which is a version of the theme song that isn't quite as good as the arrangement in Season 2 onward, a trio of ponies invite Twilight to a birthday party for Moondancer, a pony who is never actually seen or mentioned ever again, except in the comics where she does appear. Twilight politely declines and rushes off.
Does that pony do anything except study? I think she's more interested in books than friends.
Twilight returns and accidentally causes her #1 assistant, Spike the Baby Dragon, whose voice is distinctly less annoying contrast to Generation 1 counterpart, and thankfully looks more like that counterpart than the Generation 3 version, to ruin his present for Moondancer. Twilight frantically looks through her books, but Spike seems to have already found the book she needed.
Elements, E. Aha! Elements of harmony. See Mare and the Moon?
She already did. Though then again, that was a storybook and this is a reference guide, so...
Mare and the Moon? But that's just an old pony's tale.
Spike, it's a reference book. It's not Wikipedia. Anyway, Twilight learns that the summer solstice, 1,000 years after her banishment, the stars will somehow aid in Nightmare Moon's escape. Twilight asks Spike write and send a note to Celestia. This is basically the extent of his character most of the time, aside from his role as the library assistant, being the token boy character when Rainbow Dash is either not available or wouldn't say certain things, as well as often the butt monkey of certain slapstick, which you'll see a lot of in this episode, because the writers tend to not know what to do with him. Spike brings up doubts that Celestia will have time to deal with Twilight's conspiracy theories, but Twilight knows that it's already been 1,000 years and Celestia needs to be informed. Spike has some trouble writing the letter and we see some nice visual foreshadowing. Spike's issues with writing never get brought up again though. The letter gets sent and...
But I wouldn't hold your breath.
Oh, I'm not worried, Spike. The princess trusts me completely. In all the years she's been my mentor, she's never once doubted me. I knew she would want to take immediate action.
However, Celestia's letter says that Twilight needs to prioritize overseeing the Summer Sun celebration in the rural town of Ponyville and making friends. Town of Ponyville. Why does that sound familiar?
The city of Townsville.
Well, Lauren Faust's husband did make that show, and it's not the only parallel, apparently. I have just been informed that there's a common knowledge and pretty much everyone knows about this particular connection. Whatever, the other one isn't as obvious. Right off the bat, they meet the President Party Pony, who is physically incapable of reading between lines most of the time, Pinkie Pie. It went something like this.
Hello?
Moving on. They go to a local farm, Sweet Apple Acres, to check on food preparations, where they meet the Southern Belle farmer Applejack and a tiny amount of her massive extended family.
Soup's on, every pony! Now, why don't I introduce y'all to the Apple family?
Thanks, but I really need to hurry.
This here's Apple Fritter, Apple Bumpkin, Red Gallop, Red Delicious, Golden Delicious, Caramel Apple, Apple Strudel, Apple Tart, Baked Apples, Apple Brioche, Apple Cinnamon Crisp, Big Macintosh, Apple Bloom, and Granny Smith. Up and at 'em, Granny Smith. We got guests.
Those last three are the only ones who actually live in Ponyville. Applejack is a very family-oriented character, and she feels like Twilight is already one of her honorary family members. But Twilight does not react well to this. However, Twilight cannot resist Apple Bloom's cuteness factor.
Aren't you gonna stay for brunch? Sorry, but we have an awful lot to do.
Aww.
Fine.
I can't say no to that face.
Excuse me?
This is a real and very dangerous superpower in a few universes, trust me. I've had to quarantine a few merged worlds because heart attack and blood sugar epidemics, it's not a pretty picture.
Diabetes.
In fact, the first time it happened, my mortal body died several times before I even figured it out. Afterwards, Twilight seems to be in a state that gets taken out of context far too often, and they meet the athletic, tomboyish, and often very rude Pegasus, Rainbow Dash, who is in charge of weather preparations. I personally am not a very huge fan.
Well, she's not doing a very good job, is she? Excuse me?
Let me help you.
Yes, that is a female pony, and people think she's a lesbian. Honestly, she probably does have the male hormones flowing through her, but to say that she's a lesbian is a bit pushing it, I think, because there's really not a concrete evidence suggesting that she is, so I just don't get it. Anyway, she grabs a rain cloud to wash Twilight off, and she zooms around her to dry her off, only for Twilight's mane to get all messy.
Oh, dry. No, don't thank me. You're quite welcome.
Let me guess. You're Rainbow Dash.
Twilight calls out Rainbow Dash on the fact that the skies were supposed to be free of clouds, but Rainbow Dash claims that she's practicing to impress the pony equivalent of Blue Angels, the Wonderbolts, who are going to be at this celebration. I have to say I'm actually a tiny bit surprised Twilight even knows who they are, but it's revealed much later on that they're actually an important part of Equestria's history. You see, the original performance led by General Firefly, who I've mentioned in my Newborn Cuties review, was to celebrate a year of peace after Nightmare Moon was banished. This is probably the biggest difference between them and the Blue Angels, who were formed to boost morale, among other things, in 1946, during a time where America was caught up in a couple wars, mostly just the Cold War, but this was shortly after the Second World War, and America's basically been in a perpetual state of war since it was founded. Of course, it's hard to directly reference America's military in this show when Equestria has been at peace for thousands of years, when America's basically always been at war, like I said. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent here. Twilight thinks Rainbow Dash is just being lazy, so Rainbow Dash attempts to clear the skies in 10 seconds flat, and she actually does it in 9 seconds.
What I say? 10 seconds flat. You lie! You lie!
In spite of this being a very popular line, but she probably wasn't very good at math anyway. In spite of Twilight's mane still being a mess, they go to the town hall to meet the pony in charge of decorations, the literal fashion horse, Rarity, who Spike is instantly smitten with.
Oh, yes! Sparkle always does the trick, does it not?
In case it still isn't obvious, Rarity is the most effeminate of the bunch, and she kind of lacks in relatability for many people as a result. Though she's kind of a prima donna and a drama queen, her over-the-top reactions can be pretty funny at times, which is probably the center of her popularity more often than not. Also, she occasionally speaks French, even though she isn't French. And when Apple Bloom spoke French, Applejack thought that she was speaking quote-unquote fancy. But yeah, Rarity is that kind of character. It's very, you love her or you hate her. She can be pretty generous when it comes to fashion, though, as seen when she offers to fix Twilight's mane. And by offers, I mean she kidnaps her and forces her into an outfit gag. Wait, what?
No. Too green. Too yellow. Too poofy. Not poofy enough. Too frilly. Too shiny. Now go on, my dear.
When Twilight says that she's from Canterlot, Rarity naturally reacts in awe and envy, as being a castle town, it's pretty darn high society kind of place. Rarity then makes a gesture of friendship, and just like last time, Twilight reacts poorly and runs off while Rarity's distracted doing something else. They then go and meet the pony in charge of music, the introverted Disney princess reference and Beastmaster Fluttershy, who's working with a group of birds.
Oh my. Stop please, everyone. Excuse me, sir. I mean, no offense, but your rhythm is just a teeny tiny bit off.
Leave it to Mordecai to be a tiny bit off key. Twilight accidentally scares the birds off. She apologizes, but Fluttershy lives up to her name.
I'm Twilight Sparkle. What's your name? I'm Fluttershy.
I'm sorry, what was that?
My name is Fluttershy.
Didn't quite catch that.
Diabetes.
Jeez, Twilight. Reading between the lines is Pinky's thing. The birds come back, Twilight bids farewell and is about to leave when Fluttershy spots Spike and goes full mood swing.
A baby dragon! Oh, I've never seen a baby dragon before. He's so cute.
Well, well, well.
Twilight tries to get away from Fluttershy, but she's so enamored with Spike that she follows him and talks with him, much to Twilight's dismay. Twilight eventually decides to draw the line when they reach the Golden Oak Library, aka the Tree Berry, where Twilight and Spike will be staying for the duration of the event. No relation to the publishing company previously known as Golden Books and now known as Western Publishing. They go inside and Twilight talks about how she needs to study Nightmare Moon, but...
I just need to be alone so I can study without a bunch of crazy ponies trying to make friends all the time. Now, where's the light?
It turned out that Pinkie Pie decided to throw Twilight a surprise welcome party. As she pesters Twilight, Twilight attempts to drown her sorrows in juice, only to pour hot sauce into her cup instead. And we see our first instance of Derpy Hoofs over there with the derped eyes. Oh, and the other four that Twilight met are there too. Pinkie mistakes Twilight's reaction to the hot sauce for tears of joy, like I said, and then puts some hot sauce in a cupcake and eats it, much to the surprise of the other four. Twilight reacts to get some peace in spite of all the partying, and Spike tells her that she should just enjoy herself. I agree, it's kind of rude for her to not attend her own party at all when Pinkie went out of her way to hold it. Twilight remembers that the stars will aid in Nightmare Moon's escape and sees 4 stars closing in on the moon. Later at the town hall, Mayor, as in horse puns. Like I said, the other one isn't really as obvious. Anyway, Mayor announces the start of the official festivities. However, the stars merge into the moon and she introduces Celestia, but...
Princess Celestia! This can't be good.
Understatement of the millennium, Twilight. No wordplay intended. Nightmare Moon then reveals herself and proclaims her victory, ending part 1.
Oh no! Nightmare Moon!
Remember this day, little ponies, for it was your last. From this moment forth, the night will last forever.